Hey everybody, fight back the tears. This may be the last video installment you have to watch for Good Old Music 139 Basic Musicianship. And what we're going to do is take you through the practice final assessment, the final quiz, homework. It's really just an amalgamation of everything we've been through and the chapters we've used for this incarnation of the course, and it's got a couple of things that haven't been asked about in the worksheets quite this way. So I thought maybe we would go through the practice quiz assessment, which has a real strong resemblance to the final. As a matter of fact, the way I say the final quiz assessment, the way I usually say it to my classes is, if the final quiz assessment doesn't look a lot like the practice final quiz assessment, it's going to look a heck of a lot like this practice final quiz assessment, which I think is only fair. That the formatting, the nature of the thing is going to be basically identical to this. So it looks like a lot. It's just to make sure that you got a good knowledge of it, and we get a good idea about how it goes. So let's go through what it takes to do this. A lot of it is very basic, and is a lot of chapter 1-2 stuff, as well as some 3-4. So identify the following pitches as they appear on the grant staff. Please include the octave number. So we get the head thing out here. And so I know that this is third line, treble clef, strain to remember what those are. That's going to be a B. That's your every good bird B. And it's still in that fourth octave, like middle C is 4 octave. Remember, the C, the space note right above that would be the start of octave 5. So it doesn't start with A, it starts with every C. And there's some sharps, double sharps, flats, double flats in here. So be on your toes. Some ledger line work here. Put the octave number in. And then a similar sort of thing, but now identifying notes on the keyboard. And with middle C, and that's taken to be C4. So what would say number 17 be? Well, it's in this 3 octaves. There's the C3 octave number. Here's the C4 octave. And so number 17 is the black key between D and E. So you could think of it perhaps as D sharp. And know that it could just as easily be E flat, and that it is in the 3rd octave. So you label it just like that, somewhere near the number, near the key, like that. And then I have some, describe where things are on the staff and the keyboard, maybe in ways that really get you to think about what the thing is. Let me get this part of this page handy here. I think I make reference to the keyboard somewhere on this page too. So, all right, I'm back to the pen, and describe where in terms of the treble clef the B below middle C is. So, well, here's the B below middle C. Okay, but in the treble clef, right, that's not on the staff, the 5-line staff. It's below the first ledger line. So that's what you would write. You're right. It is below the first ledger line, below the staff. Right? So, as a matter of fact, while I'm still sort of able to write and move this thing around, that's that note right there if it didn't have a sharp in front of it. So say it this way. You can talk like you're in kindergarten, but just make sure you're descript enough. It is the note below the first ledger line, below the staff. And it gets to be awkward describing this thing, but I think it's important to be able to do that. Describe where in terms of the bass clef G2 is. So some notes are staff, some notes are line notes, some notes are space notes. Don't say on a line. That doesn't work very well, because then it doesn't tell me whether it's a line or a space note. So it was the pitch that is 2 ledger lines below the bass clef staff, whereas the pitch is 2 ledger lines below the treble clef staff. Note that the pitch that is 2 ledger lines below the treble clef staff could be notated on the bass clef, and more oftentimes is. But sometimes you have to play it, and it's a treble clef note. Pianists would have to do this oftentimes. Altos and tenors sing below the treble clef all the time. So there you go. Now, in terms of the group of black keys, describe where an F is. You get a little keyboard thing here. And if you know that, say, right here is an F, right next to 19 here, right? Describe it in terms of the groups of black keys. We have pairs of black keys, and we have triolets of black keys. So group of 3 black keys, group of 2 black keys. It's nearest to the group of 3 black keys, and it's on the left. So I would just say it's on the left of the group of 3 black keys. And remember, the groups of black keys are the only thing that tells you where anything is on the keyboard. All right? If I just had white keys with nothing but, white key after white key, how would I know which one was which? All right? In this case, the F is next to that group of 3 black keys, and it's on the left of it. And this is the best way to know it, so you don't have to depend on alphabetical order to go quickly to a key. See number 23 above, which is this thing. What is another name for this pitch? And black keys naturally have more than one name because they're named as a sharp version of what's on the lower side of it, or as a flat version of what's on the upper side of it. And for that matter, anything can be named for, with any letter name, basically, if you put enough sharps or flats next to it. Not that we have more than a double flat, double sharp. But what are 2 other names for number 24 above? So if you're calling that one thing, it could be, the other letter name thing, but it also could be a double sharp or a double flat of something that's not even this white key or that white key. I'm going to give you an answer key to this so you can see exactly what it is. I don't want to give away the answer for this, but let me do an example that's a little like that. Take this C right here. What are 3 ways to name this C? Well, one is C, right? So I could call this C. I could also call it B sharp, because it's a half step above B. Now, it's not very commonly B sharp, but it's also right next to D. So if I had to call it D something, I would call it D double flat, like that. So there's 3 different ways to name this, and the black keys are even easier, more easily named with more than one type of name. With a W, H, or N indicate the size of interval that exists between, say, numbers 2 and 8 above. This is a lot like what you did in the book, where W is a whole step, H is a half step, and N would be neither. It's probably the case that it's either 3 half steps or 0 half steps in that case. Good to remember that half step is sort of an interval to keep a watch on. And let's go to page 2. And cursor. Okay, on to some rhythm stuff. I kind of slice and dice the rhythm things in numbers of ways. Calculate the number of beats in the following simple division note rest strings. And there's no bar lines here. It's just add up what you got for combinations of notes and rests. And in this case, we really are looking for you to give me how many quarter notes worth, where a quarter note gets a beat. So that's what you have in 2/4 or 3/4 or 4/4 time. So for instance, that would be 1. That would be 1. The dotted quarter is 1.5, and then this with the 1/8 would be 2. So you just add up what you get all together. If it had ended there, I'd have 4. Here is a half rest, so you might know that that's 2 beats worth. The dotted half is 3. You keep going till you add it all up. All right. Remember, triplets get a little funky as far as how they add up. And 3/8 with the triplet thing is the equivalent of a quarter note. it's always equivalent to the note value directly above it. Okay, and then 3 quarters that are an eighth is equivalent to that. Express the following another way: using or replacing ties and or dots. And what I mean with this is, if it's tied, what one note expression that doesn't have any ties involved could be used to express this? So once the one notes, it's 3 quarter notes worth, or if it has a dot, can you give me 2 or more notes that are tied together that equate to this value of the one dotted note? And then this is the same thing with rests. And remember, you never tie rests, but if you need to use more than one in succession, it sounds the same as if it were tied, correct? Because it's what? Silent. Right? Let's clear this and scroll down here to the bottom of page 2, and there's a number of rhythms that are in simple category, and then there's a compound rhythm. It's just sort of a demonstration example for us. I'm not going to count for at least much credit, maybe no credit, what questions I ask that have anything to do with compound meter, because we haven't done any of it in our incarnation of this course. But drawing the bar lines for this, let's just say it's a 4/4 rhythm, and I got 1 beat, 2 beats, 3 and 4 beats. I draw on the bar line there. I see 1 beat there, I see 3 beats there, so that makes 1 beat. Well, pretty clear to see in 4/4 I've got what I call the rabbit in the food bowl, the biggest rabbit in the cage. It's taking up the whole thing. And there's, so far I have this bar, this bar, this bar. If the thing had ended there, that'd be 3 bars. So keep barring and then add up the total number of measures in the line. Moving along to the next page. Yes, we might just get out of here with another little video left. See how we do here. Rewrite the following rhythms so that in a new time signature they will sound exactly the same. Now this was asked for in our worksheets this session. And I think one thing that just has to be understood right away is if it sounds the same, it's got to have the same number of events. So if it's got, for instance, in this bar, 6 different notes, it's going to have 6 different notes in this bar for it to sound the same. And they really can sound exactly the same. But to look at them on the page, now expressed not in 4/4 but in 4/2, is just going to be a matter of taking every quarter note, which is the unit of the of the beat in 4/4, and that's a 4, and moving it over to a half note. See, so although every quarter note equals a half note, the formula really is double the value of every note. So what was a quarter note becomes a half, what was an eighth becomes a quarter, so on and so forth. I would need 3 more quarters and another half to complete that bar. And what was 1, 2, and 3, and 4 is going to be 1, quarter, 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 half. And it's going to sound exactly the same. But for sure, it's got to have the same number of events. And we'll pick this up next video, and we'll finish this page and the last page of our final practice quiz assessment run through. See you on the other side. How do I get there? Oh, that's what I have to do. I have to go